All right, my friends, grab some popcorn for this one because this is probably the longest Call of Duty video that I've actually ever posted. And I'm going to be doing voiceover the entire time. And then I will also be uploading this video again without my voice. And that way you guys can just hear and watch the video in its entirety, like if you actually want to do that. But anyways, you definitely read that right. We are doing a super compilation. We did every single weapon class in every single Modern Warfare, and I really wanted to have this posted before Modern Warfare 4 beta launches. This challenge alone was like a monumental undertaking for me because I also did live commentary as well, and I like never do that. So if you guys are newer to the channel or just fuzzy because I haven't done something like this in a while, I typically don't do live commentary with Call of Duty. I typically reserve that for the Skyrim and the Red Dead series, more story-based modes, more story-based games that my wife and I will actually play, and that's when we'll actually have some live commentary. But I have been doing this off to the side to kind of get ready, shake off the rust, if you will, for the beta. And I've also been actually having a lot of fun with it as well. I just got back from vacation, I would say like a week and change ago. And what actually prompted this was me scrolling through Game Pass and having seen all of the Call of Duties that have been uploaded onto it, like the catalog of it. And you have 2019, 2022, and 2023. And that's really when the idea hit me is, what is Modern Warfare 4 actually going to play like? And to figure that out, I went through every modern Call of Duty, every Modern Warfare with every weapon class. I don't really know why. I don't know what I gleaned from that. So therein lies the challenge that I created for myself, is play 2019, 2022, and 2023 with every weapon class and see if there's just any insight that carry into Modern Warfare 4 before we actually get our hands on the beta. As a heads up, I will be playing the beta and posting gameplay as quickly as I can. Ironically, on the 21st, I also have to see an installation, record it for marketing, do the write-up, then do my day-to-day, then go back and be remote, and then I'll be jumping on the beta. So with that one, just expect raw gameplay and maybe some live commentary on top, depending on what time it is or how urgent it is to get the video out. I'm still flip-flopping between it as of the 19th. So what you're watching right now is the fully completed challenge. Over the next few days, I'll be posting the individual videos because this was really more of a massive undertaking for me because I just don't do anything like this anymore. And I would like to, on a side note, I would like to say shout out to Cloud Gaming and Game Pass. I was able, and this was actually super impressive for me, rather, is that I was able to play all three games back to back to back on my PC using the Xbox app while keeping the live commentary actually rolling. So and I'm super old, I'm going to be dating myself on this, but it honestly blew my mind and reminded me of the old Sega Channel days, back when you plug the cable into the wall, into an adapter, I think, into the Sega itself, and then suddenly you had access to like every Sega game. It was so ahead of its time, and here I am doing effectively the same thing 30 years later with Call of Duty. But anyways, each weapon class has its own dedicated session. So it's a one night of snipers, one night of battle rifles. I actually did combine SMGs and LMGs just because I was feeling kind of froggy. And then one night was ARs. I already did the designated marksman rifle class in a separate video all on its own, and that's really more or less like the general. It's essentially every single piece of these videos mashed up into one, because again, like, if I'm going to show you guys this, I want to show you the challenge completed because I already had. So as a quick note, there's actually no Modern Warfare 2019 sniping in this compilation because I'm fairly certain I joined a ground war match and then proceeded to go, I want to say 0-15, and I was getting obliterated by gunships, VTOLs, and I was anybody who looked in my general direction, I essentially rolled over and died. So What I actually learned from this mini journey that I went in is kind of like the good, bad, and the ugly. So, starting off with the good, Modern Warfare 2023 feels head and shoulders above the other two in terms of raw gameplay. The look and feel of 2019, in my opinion, is still unmatched visually, atmospherically, but the level design it's bananas, and not in a good way. The bad, 2019 specifically, like as a casual player, and I want to define that honestly clearly because that gets thrown around a lot, but in my opinion, you can buy every Call of Duty and still be casual. It's about the frequency, time, and what you're willing to sacrifice is kind of what makes the distinction between the two, in my opinion. So with a family, with a 9 to 5, the play dates, the summer trips, the farms, the berries, the amusement parks, there's not really a lot of time to really sit down and grind like the college days. So I'm really looking at these games through the lens of someone who plays seriously when he can, but not endlessly. And from that perspective, 2019 is the one game where I genuinely have no idea who they made it for. It wasn't for the casuals, the hardcore players, or pros. The visibility alone hurts every category of gamer. Can you tell I'm doing this in one take? I effectively do these all off of the cuff because I don't really know how to do any sort of scripted, I won't call it nonsense. I just don't really know how to do that, and I don't have the patience to do that, and I don't really think I have the aptitude to also sit down and write out a script. But that's neither here nor there. And yes, players, pro players, category, yes, hurts. It hurts everyone in some way, shape, or form. And it feels less like a design choice for gameplay and more of a, ooh, we want to make this look cool and cinematic, which it does. Like, it looks great, the smoke, the shake, all that, like a grid, it is awesome, but it plays like ass. And what I noticed from that is, and I understand there's a little bit of age, but I don't know what they did in that game, but the only way I could actually identify a target was just standing still. Like, I had to constantly stop moving just so I could see what the hell I'm looking at. And I don't really like camping, as you guys can tell by the gameplay. I'd probably do better if I did. I will throw some claymores in high traffic areas to maybe get a booby trap kill, or just kind of use it like as an alarm clock to get an idea of where the spawns could be starting to shift. But I generally try as best as I can to not sit in a quarter, simply because it's just not fun. And I can imagine watching that isn't really fun either. So anyway, so the compilation is really the best moments of all three games across all weapon classes. So the raw footage of this alone was like 5.5 hours worth of gameplay and commentary, which again is just wild for me, but I actually had a lot of fun doing it. And after all of it, my honest hope is that I hope, and I won't say prayer, I genuinely hope that Modern Warfare 4 follows the gameplay feel of 2023. And that slightly worries me that I have to say that, because, and I really didn't even remember this until, good Lord, I want to say it was a couple of days ago. Jeff actually posted a video, and he called out that Sledgehammer actually worked on 2023, so it didn't really dawn on me until that moment. And looking at this again, it makes so much more sense. So really the frame of reference that we should be looking at in this is 2022, which on the tier of good, better, best, if we call 2019 good, I would say 2022 is better, not by much, but it is better, and it's at least improvements on the main gripes that we had as like a community as a whole. So that's cool. But at the same time, the game that has been head and shoulders above everyone else with regard to the gameplay of it, with regard to the map design, which on a side note is hold on, let me finish this thought before I go down that other thought. But in terms of gameplay, keeping something that you are used to, like the multiplayer of it, after a month or two of it, we get pretty used to it, but they kept it fresh with the aftermarket parts. And on a side note, I really enjoyed the zombies, the open world zombies. I still will say the round-based zombies with the Easter eggs is still superior. However, the open world is a lot of fun, for me at least, and it's a nice way to take a break from doing PvP while still also working on weapons that I want to use in PvP. So that's actually a lot of fun for me personally. Obviously, the campaign of 2023, we know the history about that. It clearly leaves a lot to be desired. But the point more being, just looking at this purely from a multiplayer standpoint, is 2023 is hands down the better of the 3 games. So I say really again is that I hope Infinity Ward looks at 2023 and tries to emulate that, because they will still put their own Infinity Ward spin on it, and it could be better. It could make it better. It could make it worse. It could make no changes whatsoever. We don't know. But just what I've seen doing this whole mega compilation is that you can see the progression of things getting better, not by much, but then you hit 2023 and it's night and day, because obviously another development, obviously because another studio worked on it. So really, I won't even say that I'm cautiously optimistic. I have just a little bit of dread because I really want the multiplayer to do well. And to go back to 2023, the pool of what you could do was so wide, and it was also deep. Like, it wasn't a shallow waters thing. It was, you could do everything from free running and go really down a rabbit hole and get good at that. And I know that there's like dedicated free runners just for that game. There are people that are the just absolute juggernauts doing small maps, doing all of the shipments, max engagements all the time. There's the camo grinders, there's the hardcore gamers, there's the S&D players, and then there's the invasion, the ground war. And my personal favorite and my hot take is that the war mode, if I look at Sledgehammer's last iteration of using the war mode, which was Call of Duty World War II, fantastic. I still say that is the best game mode they have ever made. And if they have a variant of that, which also allows you to use score streaks, I think that would be so cool. It would be, and it's funny because it blurs the line, or it takes steps very close to Battlefield. But I think because there's a theme to it, because there's objectives and a little bit of a story behind it, is why it really, you know, for lack of a better word, like, it peels my potatoes. Like, I'm all in with it. I love it so much. The 2023 war mode left a lot to be desired as well. It had its flaws. So I hope if they do continue with it, that they're able to improve on it. I'm not really holding my breath on that, given that that was a Sledgehammer and this is an Infinity Ward. But again, I'm really hoping that it will emulate it, and I'm hoping that it will actually play very well, because at the end of the day, I really enjoy multiplayer. I grew up on multiplayer. Warzone is great and it has its place, but and again, if we look at, and it's funny because this was another piece that I noticed, is that the more I played 2019, and the more I saw the issues that still linger today. And I will say the issues in 2019 were so egregious that had Warzone not actually come out, you would have seen just a cliff dive of player base. Like, the burnout would have been so crazy real, because they manufactured so much. They somehow found a way to make gameplay unorganic, if that makes sense, and that sucks. And one example I can think of is domination. The point of domination is to capture the 2 points and to dominate the map, thereby extension dominating the players, and then you get your streaks. And that is like the game within the game, is that tug of war of who's going to get that point, who's then going to hold it the longest, and then the counterplay to it of how are we going to break through that. And I will say, so when you do, and before I get it on another tangent, but like, the maps make no sense with this buddy spawn system, whatever the squad spawn system, whatever the heck that is. Like, it throws flap. It throws all map knowledge out the window, and it just makes me feel like I'm a chicken running with my head cut off. There's no real discernible rhyme to the reason as to why that person is spawning there. And it made it so frustrating. And I think you can actually see great a great comparison. And this is the side note, is that when I played 2023, the nostalgia was actually validated because majority of those maps are Modern Warfare 2 maps, the 2009 ones, and they play great. But some of them don't really play that well with the spawn systems as well. So that is actually crazy to me, is that you have these games that they're not these games, but these levels that have really been timeless. They have been able to withstand everything. They still play great, but you can see what they are currently doing, and really the philosophy that they have behind it really just craps all over these maps. And again, like I keep going back to like Modern Warfare 2019, but I'm like, who in the world did they make that for? Like, it sucks because it looked great, it felt great, love the story, love the reboot, and then, man, just at the fit, like just pulling, like snatching loss from the jaws of victory, essentially. So that is really the best way that I can kind of, encapsulate that. But again, the maps, I hope they're good maps. And this is something that I noticed as well, is I think what defines a good Call of Duty is the map. In that, and what I noticed is, like, when I played 2019, some maps were clearly designed for SMGs, some maps were clearly designed for assault rifles, some were clearly designed for sniper rifles. And Modern Warfare 2, I don't really even know. They kind of made power positions not really power positions. Like, they were terrible in my opinion. But you also have the opposite end of the spectrum with 2019, where whoever gets to the highest ground and plants the most claymores effectively just controls the map, which again is why, like, 2023, and I think this is a benchmark and a very clear way to be able to determine whether or not a map is good, is that it provides the opportunity for every class to do well. And that's actually what I found incredibly interesting out of this whole thing, is that it was really what I ended up enjoying the most were the maps that, and even Modern Warfare 3, I'm pretty sure one of the levels that I sniped on, I don't think it's a remake, or if it is, it may be like a Infinite Warfare map. But the point more is that it played great, and every play style and every weapon class can do well. And I think when we look at this again, like, I think we, like, as the community as a whole, when we look at these games and we think of gameplay, I at least go to the meta. Like, how does this game play when if we're using 2019 as a reference? Like, how does this map play when I use the M4 and the 725? And how does this map play when I use, this other meta gun in 2022, sort of thing. So, like, it's just really interesting that 2019 and 2022 had maps that were clearly created and intended for a certain use, while 2023, and shout out to the nostalgia being validated in my opinion, but the maps being so good that you are provided the opportunity to do well no matter what weapon class you pick. And I think, variety being the spice of life, that is really what or at least I am looking for, is variety in this to make it fun. It's a familiar level. Let's use Terminal. Actually, no. Let's use a slightly off map. Let's use Derail. And because I played on that level, is that Derail would work whether you're using an SMG, an LMG, an AR, a DMR, or a sniper. There is a lane, there is a section of the map, there is a something about it that will allow you the opportunity to actually do well. Whether you do well or not, you don't, like, obviously you'll never know. You never know what the future is going to hold, but you're at least provided the opportunity, which I can say that I don't feel that way with majority of the 2022 maps and almost all of the 2019 maps, with the irony of that being you have levels like Backlot and Crash that are in 2019, but again, you go back to that spawn system and the doors and all, like, it makes no sense. So head and shoulders above the other two. I am hoping that Modern Warfare 4, that Infinity Ward looks at 2023 and says, I want to make that, like, I want 2023 to be my benchmark. Like, it has to be as good as 2023 or better. And then they will naturally just put their Infinity Ward spin on it. And again, it may be better, it may be worse, it may be different. I think that's what's so awesome about these different studios getting to work on it, is you get their own twist on it. And I'm like really hoping that Modern Warfare 4 is going to be Infinity Ward trying to make 2023. And I think if they do that, I think it will be a colossal success. And on a sextuple side note is, I am really hoping that DMZ does well. And this is the hottest take right at the end of this video, is that I think if they make COD points earnable with, if anybody remembers like Trials of Osiris, that you have to go 9-0 and at the end of the week you get all the goodies and stuff, like get X amount of successful exfils doing like XYZ objectives, and at the end of the week you get however many COD points. And I think that is how, because the reason I stopped playing DMZ, there's no incentive to play it. Like there was no currency system. There wasn't that element that like you have in Tarkov. And I think if they provide a real incentive for it, like, and the funny thing about that is like this is a real world incentive as well, then you're just gonna have crazy player retention. You're gonna have people coming back, and then just fingers crossed the game is good. So again, I appreciate everything, guys. I've been droning on for far too long. So thanks. Have a good night.